Welcome, everyone. I am happy to welcome you all into the final block. We're just waiting on a few individuals to join us and we'll get started momentarily. Jury members, just to let you know, we are live on Facebook, our website, and as well as YouTube. Thanks for joining us again, jury members. Just a note, we're already live. And we'll begin once we have everybody here with us. All right, everybody, we are just waiting on one more and we will begin shortly. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started so we stay on time this morning. I'll be welcoming Wheat Ridge into the room in just a moment. Welcome, Wheat Ridge. Thank you for your patience. You are now here live with the jury. Can we do a quick sound check?
Hello, hello, hello.
Wheat Ridge together!
You look and sound great. Looks like you're ready. I'm going to hand you off to Angela.
All right, good afternoon, Wheat Ridge. Are you ready to begin?
Wheat Ridge together!
All right, you may begin.
Woo!
Hi, Eugene. You got a table for 3?
Hey, good to see you again. Your table's not quite ready. It'll be ready in just a minute. Do you mind waiting here?
No problem.
Girls, do you know that when Nani and I were growing up in Wheat Ridge, this used to be an Italian restaurant?
Wait, really?
Named after the family called Valenti's.
Really?
It was a true community gathering place where we connected with our neighbors. But things changed, and when the Valenti's retired, their kids didn't want to take over the business, so the building sat empty for years.
What changed? Why did no one take over?
You know from your own experience growing up in Wheat Ridge that it feels like a small town. It's always been that way because our founding families wanted to preserve a certain way of life, away from the hustle and bustle of neighboring Denver. It's why we have so many big trees and local farms. But the things that kept Wheat Ridge feeling like a small town for some people made it feel unwelcoming for others. It was hard for the city to adapt and embrace change.
Changes, like where people live and play? Changes like saving the trees?
Exactly. Cities need to change so they can be great places for the next generation. Wheat Ridge needed to adapt to be more resilient and inclusive, so it would be welcoming to new residents and new businesses.
Papa, it sounded like Wheat Ridge had to open more doors.
Hello, All-America City. Wheat Ridge is excited to be here today to compete to be an official All-American City. And we believe we are an All-American City because from grassroots to City Hall, we do things together in Wheat Ridge. I'm Rachel Halter, a City Council member. When I first moved to Wheat Ridge as a single mom, I felt like my voice didn't matter simply because I hadn't lived here long enough. When I started advocating for sidewalks on our main street, I realized we needed more people with more keys to open more doors. We needed to disrupt the entrenched civic voice to include people with a diversity of lived experiences to better reflect the actual diversity of our city. So I created and led a grassroots leadership program called Wheaties Academy with the goal of cultivating a new generation of inspired community leaders. As a resident, I couldn't do it alone.
I'm Kate Cook, Executive Director with Local Works, a nonprofit that engages and educates Wheat Ridge residents to take action and advance the city as a vibrant and sustainable community. Local Works hosted Wheaties Academy, ensuring that the program was accessible by offering an affordable format and using our extensive reach in the community to actively encourage participation across demographics.
I'm Kathleen Martell, a Wheaties Academy graduate and mentor. Wheaties Academy participants collaborated with city officials, community organizations, and other residents to learn how to cultivate inclusive civic dialogue and how to creatively address challenges such as attainable housing and placemaking. Participants honed their grassroots leadership skills by implementing community projects, including the first collaborative community mural and a pop-up art festival in collaboration with schools and businesses.
I'm Adam Wiley, a Wheaties Academy graduate and mentor. Nearly 70% of Wheaties Academy graduates have gone on to serve in community leadership roles. The goal of Wheaties Academy was accomplished when the third and final cohort graduated in 2018. Local Works in the city now partner to offer Wheat Ridge 101, an annual interactive course which explores effective community engagement while learning how the city operates. As Wheat Ridge changes, it's critical to have a vision and a plan to protect our natural resources. So after completing Wheaties Academy, I was one of 11 founding volunteers on the resident-led Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee.
I am Joy Opp, co-chair of Sustainable Wheat Ridge. We're dedicated to building a more equitable and resilient city in support of the city's 2035 vision statement, prioritizing environmental stewardship. In 3 years, we have completed over 50% of our committee's policy and program recommendations, including a project to address food insecurities by partnering with Fresh Food Connect. Through this program, local growers donate their unused produce to families living in domestic violence shelters and to people experiencing homelessness.
I'm Kayla Betzel, the city's first sustainability coordinator. My job includes supporting the resident-led sustainable neighborhoods, which brings neighbors together to tackle challenges specific to their unique neighborhood. By working together to develop and implement sustainability projects, neighbors strengthen relationships while decreasing each neighborhood's environmental footprint and making Wheat Ridge more resilient.
I'm Diana Lopez, a Wheat Ridge resident who took advantage of the sustainable Wheat Ridge home energy audit. The audit helped me and others reduce our monthly energy bills and allowed us to participate in other energy efficient programs. Over 800 residents and businesses participated in these programs at a free or reduced cost, resulting in electricity savings equivalent to permanently removing 1,500 cars from our roads. Because sustainability, equity, and civic engagement are important to me, I serve on many committees, including the newly formed Race and Equity Task Force. Today, these keys have been used to open doors as symbols of inclusion and civic engagement. But as we were working together on this presentation, we realized these keys also symbolize locked doors that only certain people can open. As part of Wheat Ridge Together, an initiative that started in 2020 to remove barriers to civic engagement, we are asking ourselves how we can do better to be more inclusive by listening and embracing different perspectives. Our community members are the only keys we need to open doors. No more keys as symbols.
I'm Morgan Richards. I set out to become anti-racist because of my Jewish heritage, as well as to stand up for my 2 Black teens and anyone else in Wheat Ridge who experiences inequity and racism. After George Floyd's murder, I founded Wheat Ridge for Equity in 2020. Our members called for a local response to Floyd's death, demonstrated 40+ times on our main streets, and distributed over 1,000 Black Lives Matter signs, offered equity training, and organized the first county DA candidate forum focused on racism. We also asked our city council to create a race and equity task force, and they did. We did it. Wheat Ridge for Equity members are helping normalize talking about and addressing white privilege, racism, and bigotry in our community that some still call White Ridge.
Hi, I'm Jenny Snell, co-chair of the Wheat Ridge Race and Equity Task Force. My wife and I love living in Wheat Ridge, and we are passionate about making sure it's a safe place for everyone to ride their bike or walk down the street. The Race and Equity Task Force is composed of 20 underrepresented community members who are appointed by City Council. We meet twice a month to review all city services and policies for racism and discrimination. We will present our recommendations to City Council on how to make Wheat Ridge more inclusive, accessible, and welcoming to everyone.
Hi, I'm Val Nosler-Beck. I own a small business and serve on City Council. When my family moved here 7 years ago, I wanted to be engaged, but meetings were scheduled at times when my 2 young girls needed me. I knew if my voice wasn't being heard, others weren't either. I ran for office on a platform to remove barriers to participation, and I won by a large margin. Since then, we've expanded opportunities by launching 2 online platforms: What's Up Wheat Ridge, a community engagement platform to discuss local issues, and Wheat Ridge Speaks, which allows stakeholders to provide online public comment for City Council meetings instead of in-person attendance. These platforms helped residents get and stay involved and positioned Wheat Ridge to face the challenges of the pandemic.
Hi, I'm Terry Gale, and I co-chair the Wheat Ridge Race and Equity Task Force. Our city mourned with the rest of the families and the nation as countless lives were lost due to the horrific injustice perpetrated against our African American, Latinx, and otherwise marginalized communities. Because Wheat Ridge has an effective civic infrastructure, we responded quickly to begin addressing systemic racism and creating a more equitable community. The city of Wheat Ridge is all about having tough conversations, creating a space for all voices, and taking meaningful actions. Can we solve all the nation's problems? No. But our city is fully engaged to using all the tools, community members, and organizations necessary to stop inequity at the local level. We are making Wheat Ridge a more inclusive, equitable, and resilient community.
Hey, your table's ready.
Hey, thanks, Eugene. Can you tell the girls why you opened your first restaurant in Wheat Ridge?
Sure, so we didn't want to just build a restaurant and brew pub. We wanted to build a special community gathering place, and Wheat Ridge has a vision. We've been here for 8 years, and we're always so grateful for all the people and the community and the neighborhood. And here, follow me. Let's go upstairs, I'll take you to your table.
Working together, Wheat Ridge strives to be a city where every community member is the key to opening more doors to become more welcoming, more resilient, more inclusive while staying uniquely Wheat Ridge.
Wheat Ridge together! Wheat Ridge together! Wheat Ridge together! Woo!
Awesome. Thank you, Wheat Ridge, for kicking off our last session of the session. Let's see what questions our jury members have for you. Yes, I'll start with a question, which is about the Wheaties Academy. Just a little bit more about why you decided to shift into the 101. You talked about that in your application, but if you can expound on that more, and then what's next? Sort of, how do you know the transition to the shorter academy has been more successful, and what's on the horizon?
Thank you. That's a great question. Wheaties Academy was started to fundamentally disrupt the entrenched civic leadership by bringing in new voices. By the time we were done with our third cohort, we'd actually successfully accomplished that goal. One of the things with Wheaties Academy, that type of grassroots leadership program is really intensive. It was 7 months long, and it actually asked people to give a lot of their time and their lives to this program, both in the program and then the work outside of it to do the fundamental community building and relationship building required. We realized that that time commitment itself was a barrier to participation. So moving forward, we thought it was better to get more people involved by creating a lower threshold opportunity to develop civic engagement skills and strategies. So last year they had the first Wheat Ridge 101. It required much less time, was able to accommodate more people, and was something that could be done more frequently. We're hosting the second one this fall, and it usually takes a couple of cohorts to then evaluate what's next. And what's great about the process that we did with Wheaties and will continue with 101, what's next is decided by the people who have been participating, and it goes in the direction that they see that the community needs to go. And we've got the infrastructure to have that conversation to make sure it's inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's get the next questions from Mayor Shelton and Maya and Adriana.
Okay, thank you. Great job. The packet and the presentation, both outstanding. So congratulations on that. I love the Wheat Ridge for Equity. I think that is just fantastic. My question is, with both the kind of the city staff having to do the training, the police department, how did you get staff buy-in? And then kind of to expand on that, community buy-in as a whole.
So I'll take that question. Thanks so much. And I'm also going to have Ali Sheck also join me too, just because, just as a representative of the city staff as well. Oh, and we're being directed to come over this way. So we got community buy-in because the community was involved in the process from the very beginning. This wasn't a staff-led or even a city council-led movement. We were hearing as a body that serves our community that this is something that they demanded and needed. And so we responded that way. Luckily, in Wheat Ridge, we have the kind of resilient, I think, staff that are able to quickly react and respond because of all of those other tools that we told you about, Wheat Ridge Speaks, to get that feedback from the community and quickly respond. And we heard that that's what we needed, was if these issues were systemic within government, that we needed to start with staff. And so these have been really open conversations. Now, as a city councilor, I don't spend a lot of time in those staff meetings, so I don't know exactly how that went. But I just, Allie, I think they went pretty well.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Thank you, Councilor Beck. And you know, you can see up here, we have Morgan, who founded Wheat Ridge for Equity. We have Jenny and Terry, who are the co-chairs of the Race and Equity Task Force. And we have the staff liaison as well, Marianne, with us today. But this did very much come from the community. They asked council to act. Council said, yes, we're behind this. And then staff came up with a plan. In Wheat Ridge, and you asked Mayor specifically about our police department, we've had body cams for a few years now, a community advisory group to bounce around policy and procedure. So this wasn't a rapid change or any sort of a big change. The Race and Equity Task Force is looking at everything from police to purchasing to human resources, and it's going really well. So, thank you.
Outstanding. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get the next questions from Maya and Adriana.
Hello, Wheat Ridge. Fantastic job on your presentation. And I'm just so impressed with what you've been able to accomplish with your Wheat Ridge for Equity. And being in neighboring Denver, I also know that we have a pretty good population of our Hispanic, Latinx, and even Asian communities. So I'm just curious, for you all, I think you have about 21% of the Hispanic and Latinx population. So I'm just curious, what are some of the next items on your list for your equity, Wheat Ridge for Equity programs, and how do you plan to include some of those other populations?
Thanks, Maya, so much. I'm gonna actually turn this over to Terry and Jenny as the co-chairs of the Equity Task Force to let you know about some of the work they're doing.
Sure. Hello. I think hopefully you can see me. Terry and I are newly nominated co-chairs to the task force, and so we are tasked with, a lot of task in there, we're tasked with basically going through all of the founding documents in the city and looking through them and really combing through them and looking at, underlying racism, underlying discrimination. And out of the gate, it's been just kind of almost like drinking from a fire hose. We've got so much that we're excited to work on. And so I don't know if you want to speak to this, but we are kind of balancing between doing the things that we're tasked with, because that's what we owe the community and the city council and everyone, and then looking for new ways to partner with folks in our community that maybe we haven't reached yet, and what our programming is going to be down the line. And so we're super excited, and it's sort of like we're spinning two plates right now, and we're going to keep going. But I don't want to take over for you. Go ahead.
So now, we're grateful that the city of Wheat Ridge has allowed us to do this and was forward thinking in this whole process. So I'm waiting for the end result. I think we all are waiting for the end result, and it's always a work in progress. Racism and inclusivity never ends, and we're excited to get this thing going and keep it going.
And I also just would throw out one other piece in this, is also just to get to the question that you had asked about, how we're doing specific outreach. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong camera. Steve, gotcha. The specific outreach that we're doing to targeted communities. Part of the Wheat Ridge for Equity Task Force is that this is outreach for everyone, providing more accessibility. And so that's really our outreach targets in all of this, is to just improve accessibility for everyone, for all communities within Wheat Ridge.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you so much, Wheat Ridge, for a great presentation. I love hearing all about Wheaties Academy and how that's transitioned into the 101, but congratulations on really good work. Piggybacking on what Maya said, I think that sometimes in the equity and, the task force and trying to seek out more diverse voices, we have to be really intentional on who we're going after and who we're trying to bring in. So my question to you is, how are you seeking out those diverse viewpoints? And did you have really any, when Wheat Ridge for Equity was formed and when you were doing your work, did you have really a lot of pushback? Was there opposition? And if so, how did you bring that opposition or that opposing view rather into the fold and try to kind of get buy-in from them and just change hearts and minds?
Great, yeah, thanks. I'd like to bring up Morgan, who founded Wheat Ridge for Equity, to talk a little bit about just as that being the foundation of where we built a lot of our work. She can talk a lot about that.
Hi, so I also want to add on that in terms of connecting with other intentionally ignored and sometimes often harmed individuals in our community, the first thing we have to do is we have to build relationships, and so that people feel safe in this space and doing this work. Until that happens, the equity work with Wheat Ridge for Equity is highly informed by fantastic Black women, by Latinx men and women, and other marginalized people, because we can use our privilege as white people in a very safe way to disrupt systemic racism, as well as individual and personal racism on the street. Pushback, yes, we demonstrated on our main street 38 times. The last 2 were right in front of City Hall. We had one woman who drove by every week and parked at a red light, got out and hurled expletives. People told us to F off and die. They called us names. And you know what we did with that in terms of creating visibility so that people could see this matters in our community? We started counting honks and waves. And that was our biggest data point. So we got hundreds of honks and waves every time. And we had to keep people's, their spirit up, because people showed up because they saw us the day before or 2 days before, because we started 6 days a week and they had never demonstrated before. We have the youngest member on the task force. Her grandfather demonstrated for the first time in his life at 80 plus with Wheat Ridge for Equity. And I think what that does is that translates to connection. And we each have to take responsibility for those one-to-one conversations from here, just like we had in terms of how we showed up today. And that's how you change hearts and minds. We're also doing a lot of education, and I'm really proud of my community.
Thank you so much.
Can I add one thing to that really quickly?
Quickly.
Councilmember Nasser Beck and I worked with Morgan and Wheat Ridge for Equity to pass a resolution last summer condemning racism and hate. We worked with over 50 community members, voices in our community that are impacted by racism and hate, and they drafted the resolution that council passed. And that's the type of work that we've been doing to make sure that the voices are being heard from the community to City Hall. So thank Wheat Ridge for Equity for that work.
And thank you to every person who showed up, posted a comment, put a sign in their yard. We're talking hundreds of people.
Thank you so much, Wheat Ridge, Colorado. We feel the pride coming from you as well. And I love the framing of not only let's give the right people keys, but actually let's just get rid of the locks. That's actually how we transform. Well, thank you so much for being an All-America City finalist.
We Ridge together!
Thank you.
I encourage you to continue watching on our main stage, Facebook or YouTube. Hope to see you all tonight during the closing award ceremony. And now we're very excited to bring in our next finalist. Barberton, Ohio will be entering the room soon.
Oh my
Welcome, Barberton.
Hello.
Thank you for being with us. Can we just do a quick sound check?
Yeah, test. Alex, test.
Test. Welcome to Barberton.
Great.
Angela,
It's a
are you
little
on?
quiet. If you can just have everyone at the podium project, I think we should be fine.
Angela's here too. All right.
Great. And you've been made co-host, so you can share a video if you'd like. And I'm going to hand you now off to Angela.
All right, Barberton, Ohio. Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Then you may.
Hello, and welcome to Barberton, Ohio, or as we like to call it,
The Magic City.
My name is Ann Hutchison, and I'm the director of our hometown library, and I'm thrilled to be here with my friends to tell you about our amazing city. Founded in 1891 by famous industrialist Ohio Columbus Barber, our city was founded on the principles of industry, innovation, and imagination. Our city has faced numerous challenges over our 130-year history, from economic loss due to decline in industry and manufacturing to significant flooding in several of our neighborhoods. Though our community's history includes many of these challenges, what I find more meaningful are our stories of coming together and overcoming adversity. This past year alone, a lot has changed, including the way we live, work, and meet. As communities around the world have found it difficult to remain connected and active during this pandemic, Barberton has found innovative ways to show its magic, even at the darkest of times. As director of the Barberton Public Library, I see the institution I serve as a place to learn, engage, and create. The library is also a place for new ideas and perspectives to be fostered. And from this past year, I've seen even more citizens wanting to make a difference, especially among key issues of racial injustice and equity. Citizens have organized events like a conversation in the park to discuss race relations and identify opportunities for growth in inclusivity and diversity. From events like this, community leaders and officials realize that by tackling these challenges with a conscientious approach, through pursuing public engagement, leveraging resources, and identifying long-term solutions, our city will become more inclusive and resilient.
The work we do in Barberton could not be done without the cooperative effort of our community organizations, our leaders, and our citizens. I'm Suzanne Allen, Executive Director for Barberton Community Foundation, and I see firsthand the impact collaboration has on our community. We work with the City of Barberton, Barberton City Schools, Barberton Public Library, Barberton Community Development Corporation, and we work with our donors and various civic, religious, and nonprofit organizations to provide community and economic development services for our citizens and our businesses. The grants that we make from our primary endowment fund, which was created from the sale of Barberton Hospital in 1996, are strategically aligned with our long-term goals: education, workforce and economic development, arts and culture, health and wellness. Our other funds, created by our donors and local nonprofits, support our nonprofit community and support scholarships for our local students. Over the past 25 years, Barberton Community Foundation has awarded more than 8,500 grants and scholarships, totaling more than $109 million. Barberton citizens are proud. We're strong and we're resilient, and that's why we seek to invest in the community and to help build a better Barberton. Today, we're going to share with you a few of these achievements to help better describe our past, our present, and our future as a resilient and equitable community.
Fair housing for all. My name is Angela Smith, and I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator for Fair Housing Contact Service. Housing discrimination can determine where you live, and where you live determines the quality of resources available to you, including schools, healthcare, jobs, transportation, credit, and green space. It can determine the quality of your education, how long you're likely to live, your access to fresh food, and much, much more. Where you live matters. Housing discrimination is not often seen by the public eye, but its impact can be quite devastating for the tenants and the potential owners of a property. As a condition of receiving federal funding from the Community Development Block Grant, Grantees must show how the community is affirmatively furthering fair housing programs, policies, and initiatives. And seeing that resilient neighborhoods rely on safe, stable, and fair housing for all, residents and officials within the city of Barberton made it a priority to increase the availability and awareness for fair housing education and resources. Since 2015, the city has vastly expanded its fair housing initiatives. Utilizing funding from the Community Development Block Grant, the city of Barberton contracted with Fair Housing Contact Service Incorporated because of its long-standing successful education and outreach program within the region. Every year since then, the city has provided training for landlords, tenants, CDBG sub-recipients, city employees, and the general public on fair housing law and best practices. In 2016, several years following, City Council passed resolution proclaiming the month of April as Fair Housing Month, an important step affirming that public officials would take to eliminate housing discrimination. In 2018 and 2019, the city expanded its program to include the Akron Bar Association and the Ohio Civil Rights Commission, which help provide legal advice and answer questions pertaining to leases, tenant rights, escrow, and evictions. Today, the city continues to expand its fair housing program, providing additional training and general information on federal law to the public and ensuring that everyone has the right to equitable housing.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Tracy. I'm the Director of Public Service for the City of Barberton. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our community-based floodplain management program. Now, flooding occurs in virtually every community. As Director of Public Service for the City of Barberton, one of my jobs is to oversee how our city manages flooding. Although this is only one of the many hazards we face in Northeast Ohio, flooding is our most common and expensive disaster agent. To help combat the impacts of flooding and other disaster agents, the city implemented our multi-hazard mitigation plan in 2015, which outlines specific goals and actions for mitigation activities within the city. Special consideration was given to two flood-prone neighborhoods within our city, West and South Barberton. In this plan, the city would acquire select properties in the floodplain through FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and turn them into green space or retention ponds. In 2018 and 2019, the city met and engaged with residents to discuss the program and gauge interest. And today, 36 out of 87 homes eligible under the program volunteered for acquisition and demolition. Many of the residents in these areas are low to moderate income, and the city ensured uniform relocation activities would occur as mandated, and that all residents would receive funding for eligible moving costs. Through this program, the city is expected to save thousands in response and recovery dollars, which can be used towards other stormwater projects in the future.
Beyond our comprehensive multi-hazard mitigation plan for specific sites, the city of Barberton has made significant progress in increasing public outreach and education on flood-based hazards within our community. These have included public service announcements in local movie theaters, distributing over 48,000 newsletters and 500 handouts to residents, and providing programs on water quality issues and stormwater runoff pollution. In all, these efforts have enabled residents and community partners to take a more active role in floodplain and stormwater management.
Hello, my name is Alden McGill, and I am the Director of Mobile Meals and Family and Community Services, Inc. Food insecurity or lack of available financial resources for food at the household level impacts 1 in 9 Americans. In our county alone, over 82,740 individuals are food insecure, including over 23,320 children. Seeing food insecurity and access to nutritional meals as a significant issue among Barberton low-income residents, the city decided to find ways to address this need, and since 2014, the city of Barberton has partnered with Mobile Meals. The city of Barberton was able to provide this program for low-income residents through the Community Development Block Grant, as well as leverage funding sources from Family and Community Services.
Mobile Meals serves as a program to provide food for low to moderate income children, elderly, sick, and disabled residents, all while using a plan provided by a professional dietitian. Participants refer to the program through various sources, including Area Agency on Aging, Job and Family Services, local housing authorities, medical professionals, senior programs, and more. After referral, we determine what services individuals require, whether that be direct meals, nutritional counseling, or supplements, to best meet their needs.
Since 2014, Mobile Meals has assisted over 500 residents in the city of Barberton. In 2020 alone, Mobile Meals provided 5,739 meals to 44 residents. We're thankful for the continued success of this program and the achievements made towards eliminating food security. Thank you.
As you can see, our community has made significant strides in improving resilience and equity for all. As mayor of the city of Barberton, I am thankful for the abundance of dedicated organizations and talented individuals that have come together to solve real issues our citizens face in their daily lives. From community development projects like our fair housing and mobile meals initiatives to large mitigation projects like our community-based floodplain management program. Our city continues to be a more resilient and equitable community. We are proud. We are strong. We are the Magic City. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, give yourselves a round of applause. Excellent. Thank you so much, Barbara. And I think we're going to have to work on that presentation. I have to drop the T. I can hear that from a few of you. Let's see what questions the jury has for you. Let's start with Cece and then let's get Mayor Shelton.
Hello, Magic City. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was really great to read your application and hear your enthusiasm in your presentation as well. I really enjoyed reading about your fair housing plans and how that has developed over the last decade through both private and public partnerships. We know that housing is a critical issue, especially as it impacts as part of the social determinants of health. Coming out of the year like 2020 with the pandemic, I'm curious how the city of Barberton is addressing housing needs in the current and present day.
Hello, my name is Justin Halter. I'm the Community Development Administrator for the City of Barberton. So within 2020, we offered virtual trainings for landlords and tenants, just like in our application. So we allow individuals to learn more about fair housing practices, laws, and policies, as well as just kind of affirming that there are multiple ways for during the pandemic for people to have and maintain affordable housing as well as fair housing. So we've worked with Suffolk County specifically to provide CARES Act funding to eligible low to moderate income individuals that need that kind of assistance. Furthermore, we're trying to expand on that as well to find more ways to bring affordable housing into our city.
Great, thank you.
All right, Mayor Shelton.
Thank you, and I'm jealous to not be able to refer to myself as the mayor of the Magic City. That's pretty cool. I love that. So, one thing in your packet, the neighborhood mayors and getting the community involvement and quality of life by utilizing what I assume are neighborhood associations or something like that. I was just wondering if you could kind of expand on that and kind of provide a little more information of how using the neighborhood mayors helps your city and your community.
I'll answer that one again. So again, my name is Justin Halter, Community Development Administrator. So I work directly with the mayor, and one of the initiatives that we did with our Planning Commission, as well as our planning department, was to map out historic neighborhoods within our city. Currently, we have identified 16, and then within those, we found individuals that are very proactive in the community and trying to gain more insight into how to improve specific conditions in there, whether that be infrastructure, whether that be housing, whether that be crime or anything else. So the mayor makes it a definite, a prominent issue that faces most individuals for actually engaging citizens that really want to make a difference in their community.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, I have a question about the Mobile Meals program, Mobile Meals Project. Well, actually kind of two questions. One is, how are residents involved in the program or in the project other than receiving services? So how are residents giving feedback that may impact the delivery of services or making decisions and governance, or how are they involved other than the receiving? And then what are the next steps given the incredible growth of the program?
Hello, and those were great questions. The first one, we do incorporate the city of Barberton volunteers and community groups to be involved in delivering of foods. We are in several senior high-rise buildings in the city of Barberton. Usually when we go and deliver, like for instance, I deliver now. So when we go to a senior high-rise, I usually have volunteers there waiting on me that will come in, get the meals from me, and then we'll go floor to floor delivering meals. So the city of Barberton community is well involved. Food pantries, community groups, companies, organizations, they're really involved here in the city of Barberton. Also growing our outlay in the city of Barberton, working on that now. Of course, with COVID, we kind of held us up in regards to the overall advertisement of the program, but in the last few months, we have seen a growth of people being more involved in wanting meals. So we feel like it will continue to grow. We have a pot of funding that is sitting there waiting to serve the people in the city of Barberton.
I would also just like to add that we also do client satisfaction surveys with all of our individual meal recipients, and then we use that information to determine if their meals are tasty and if anything kind of needs tweaked regarding their delivery and services. So we use that information as well for the program.
Great, thank you so much. And let's get probably our last question from Mayor Daley.
Thank you, Angela. Mayor, I agree with Mayor Shelton. To be mayor of the Magic City is pretty cool. You got a thumbs up from me as well. Barberton, great job, great presentation. One thing that I'm very impressed with, not only with your written presentation, but also with the presentation you just did, was your ability to really put into place action plans. You know, we have talked about the Fair Housing Action Plan, and I agree with Cece with the comments that she made as well. Job well done. I want to concentrate on your hazard mitigation plan, which I also find to be extremely impressive, because obviously it's data driven, as mentioned, but the fact that you concentrate not only on specific target areas, but specific sites. And what I'm interested in hearing is you tell the story of the community conversation. At some point, you take your data and there's a prioritization. Is it completely data driven, or what was the role of the public? Because you obviously have a very strong civic capital and public participation as well. How did you come up with the mitigation plan?
Good afternoon. I'm Greg Tracy, the Director of Public Service. So the hazard mitigation plan, was developed because Barberton has been plagued by flooding for decades. There are certain portions of Barberton where the flood zone spans over large portions of the city. Barberton is, located in its geographical location for a purpose, and that's because there was a lot of tributaries and water available over the years. So, being the Magic City, we're called the Magic City because we expanded so quickly throughout the 60s and 70s. And then with that expansion came structures that were built in floodplains that back then were totally acceptable, and nowadays we're feeling the repercussions of that expansion. So what we've done throughout, through experience throughout the years, throughout the past decades of flooding, we've realized the pain and anguish that this flooding has put on the residents in the city of Barberton. We've listened to their concerns and have realized that it is time to take action against these flooding events in these flood-prone areas. So what we've done, we've held a number of public meetings with individuals in flood-prone areas, residents, landlords, businesses that have voiced their concerns about this. And that's kind of how the hazard mitigation grant program, that's how we got involved. And we realized that this would be the best way for the city to attack the flooding problem, given that there are structures built in flood zones that don't really provide that quality of life that we expect for the residents in the city of Barberton. So throughout the flooding events, there's numerous property damages, and most of these homes don't even have furnaces or hot water tanks or anything in the basement. Everything's been relocated to the first floor. So we work with the community members throughout and businesses to hear their concerns and move these programs forward to turn that into green space. And I don't know if other someone has anything to add to those comments or not. Hopefully that answers your question.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Barberton, Ohio, for giving us a taste of not only your really strong plans, but the magic that you have when you come together to be resilient and equitable. So thank you so much for being an All-America City finalist.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barberton. We will now be letting El Paso in shortly.
Hello!
Hello, Paso.
Hello, National Civic League! Woo! This goes odd, but here we are. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm going to make you co-host.
Thank you.
All right. We can see you, we can hear you. I'm going to hand you off to Angela, who will get you counted down.
All right, El Paso, are you ready to bring us home? Are you ready to bring us home, El Paso?
We're ready. Welcome
All right,
and bienvenidos al Paso. My name's Oscar Leeser, and I am the mayor of the great city of El Paso. We've had our challenges over the last 3 years. El Paso is a city of strength, a community of resilience. And I can tell you, it's not only today, but it's 365 days a year. Back many years ago, a 13-year-old young man lost his life in a skiing accident, and his family and friends grouped together to come up with a 5K. We had about 800 people that participated in it, and now it's one of the largest 5Ks in America, non-competitive for youth. Almost 13,000 El Pasoans, and we've raised over $2 million to donate back to schools in his memory. He loves shoes, so they give shoes to all the schools and all the kids. What a great way to keep his memory going. And also, for some reason, somebody decided to drive 11 miles to El Paso and attack us simply for who we are. Killed 23 of our citizens and really attacked our community. And I can tell you that our community came together and rallied and got $11 million to give back to the families, to support the families that lost their loved ones. This is just a few examples that defined El Paso. And you're about to hear a few more from some of our community partners. And I'm very proud today to introduce not only a great friend of mine, but a great partner to our community, Deborah Sulaga, that's with the United Way. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Mayor. As Mayor Lisa referenced, on August 3rd, the unimaginable happened. An individual drove 11 hours to commit a shooting that took 23 vibrant lives, injured more than 25, and broke the heart of every El Pasoan. Yet through our grief and sorrow, local governments, nonprofits, community foundations, and faith-based institutions came together working as one to meet the needs of so many. To create a central point for community resources, Our United Way was asked to establish the El Paso United Family Resiliency Center, the center to provide awareness and access to mental health counseling, non-traditional therapies, basic service needs, legal aid, and much more. Recently, Family Resiliency Center client Stephanie shared her poignant story. I was so overwhelmed and devastated. I was barely hanging on. Jamie, my navigator, started talking and reassuring me. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. Jamie has helped us in so many different ways. Just her presence and kindness brought peace in the middle of the chaos of the past year, a lifeline I didn't know that I needed. Since 2019, the Family Resiliency Center has served more than 776 families and almost 100 children. Because of the proven success of our collaborative navigation model, our new Resiliency Center has been created to support residents impacted financially by COVID-19. The new Resiliency Center is helping citizens navigate available resources, including critical utility and rental assistance. El Paso United Centers help El Pasoans access critical services and heal from trauma. Together, we're creating what all El Pasoans want, a more resilient community. As part of our COVID-19 response, the YWCA of El Paso has created a respite program to support parents and keep children safe. It is my honor to introduce another community leader, Dr. Sylvia Costa.
Thank you so much, Deb. National crisis often increases stress among couples and families. Shelter-in-place orders meant to protect communities in some instances created unanticipated consequences. Nationally, intimate partner violence and child abuse increased during lockdown by almost 10%. The stay-at-home orders coupled with school closures created the perfect storm for family violence. In response to this crisis, YWCA, the City of El Paso, hospitals and school districts partnered to create a respite care program for families. We worked with school counselors and others to get children in our programs so that they might have a safe place to learn and grow. Women were especially impacted. Many women were put in a situation where they had to help homeschool their children, support aging parents, and also provide care for their community and learn to adapt to the new financial situation in their lives. In many cases, this became overwhelming, and we were there to help. Through the respite care program for families in need, we provided 1,200 children with free respite care over a 6-month period. We provided 500 days of free respite care in our community, which amounted to $500,000 in free childcare. Additionally, YWCA provided shelter for women and children escaping domestic violence. Through the Transitional Living Center, the YWCA was able to provide a COVID-free home with access to counseling services for the entire family. Somehow, during the year when we were forced to be apart, we came together. As the YWCA focused on keeping children safe and families stress-free, the Delta Welcome Center focused on how to stabilize families that had no place to call home.
Good afternoon. My name is John Martin with the Opportunity Center, and this is Justin with Endeavors. And please forgive us for stepping a little further back because we tend to be a little taller than the ladies. But it needs to be known that hand to hand, we worked a little over a year to protect just under 3,000 people who were homeless.
Thanks, John. Together, we activated the shelters to ensure the safety of families and single adults facing homelessness. Less than 3% of those served were impacted by the virus, with 0 cases originating inside our shelter. I will always remember the compassion of our staff, whether it was birthday parties for children, finding homes and employment for veterans, and a man that John has known for many years as we watched him leave Delta with his dog to his own apartment.
Shelter provided stability, allowing us to focus on housing solutions, with over 700 households placed into apartments during that time period. Our work is not yet complete. We continue to work with the City of El Paso and other partners, including Amistad, To share Amistad's story, I'd like to introduce Andrea Ramirez.
Good afternoon. John and Justin, you are our community heroes. Together, with dignity and respect, we have held the hands of hundreds of individuals and led them to a pathway to home, engaging their social determinants of health, mental health, food insecurity, healthcare, and transportation. Through hundreds of hours of intensive case management, we ensure homeless individuals find not only a home, but also have access to resources, utilities. They can be life-saving. Having helped 2,600 families keep their lights on during their darkest moments.
Kathy?
For example, a young mother with a child that has cystic fibrosis that needs breathing treatments powered by an electric nebulizer. We continue to pivot. We adapt. We are resilient. We continue to wrap our wings around this community while being friendly, but being servant leaders. But you cannot have a community without a foundation. This foundation stepped up, maintained families with a roof over their head, avoiding homelessness by preventing rental assistance. Mika?
Hello, I'm Mika Short with the Paso del Norte Community Foundation. The foundation established the EP Rental program in partnership with the City of El Paso to provide relief to over 3,000 families at risk of becoming homeless. The program provided the peace of mind that comes with housing security. El Pasoans in the greatest need benefited from the assistance. El Pasoans such as the grown daughter whose mother passed away and who took her younger brother in after their great loss. The double amputee who spent weeks in the hospital fighting COVID and whose neighbors looked after his dog in an apartment while he was hospitalized. The cleaning lady who could no longer enter her clients' homes due to COVID, who had 3 school-aged children at home who needed access to the internet. El Pasoans taking care of each other, just as we've always done. These incredible community partnerships would not be possible without the city's collaborative leadership. I welcome our city manager, Tommy Gonzalez.
The spirit of El Paso is to demonstrate our strength through our community. We do this by relying on our partners. These efforts were not born out of a crisis, but rather out of a strong commitment to excellence. We call this effort our Communities of Excellence Initiative, adopted in 2018. The COE process is comprised of key community stakeholders representing education, businesses, and governmental entities. Currently, we have over 20 organizations. These organizations are all focused on collaboration, sharing best practices, and leveraging our resources. This support structure strengthened how we would later respond to 3 crises over the last 4 years. The best community connection was exemplified in the wake of the August 3rd tragedy. As a result of the hurtful rhetoric triggered by that event, Plano ISD chose to cancel a much anticipated football game with El Paso's Eastwood High. The effect on the students was devastating. The City of El Paso, in cooperation with the Isleta School District, lobbied to continue the game. Engaging the Dallas Cowboys, we wanted them to host the game. We believed it would represent a symbol of unity, strength, and solidarity across Texas. When the Eastwood Troopers played that game, we personified resilience, strength for our community, and strength for the entire state of Texas, which in that moment came together with one voice for our youth and for each other. We also had other successes as a community that wasn't crisis-based. This success was a collaboration including all our community school districts and the students at these schools, which now present the city's budget to the city council and give their input on what they want for the future of our El Paso. We took it a step further and assembled a city council appointed board comprised of these same students who just have presented their strategic plan for our community to the city council. These partnerships and the pride continued. It continued as part of our response to the pandemic. Many forget, but at one point, El Paso made international headlines for the number of COVID infections, leading the world in infections per capita. However, through collaboration with our COE partners, the Rockefeller Foundation and the CDC recognized us as one of the best in the nation for vaccine rollout. We currently lead the nation by 10 percentage points on the number of vaccines administered. We have already met and exceeded the president's goal of 70% of our population with 1 dose of the vaccine administered. We met his goal a full month early. El Paso is an all-America city because we are El Paso strong.
My
name is Nicole Perini, and I am the Chief Resilience Officer for the City of El Paso, and we stand ready to take your questions.
Okay, El Paso. Let's see if we can see all of you. Excellent. So, yay, thanks for bringing us home, El Paso. And let's see what questions the jury has for you. Let's start off with Margaret.
Thank you so much, El Paso, for a really uplifting and inspiring presentation. I share in the I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but like 2 weeks ago, a transit agency that I serve on the board of experienced a similar mass shooting tragedy. And so your community of healing really resonates with me. And we're going through that process right now. So I guess I'm looking for, some inspiration. And my question is, what would you say was the biggest transformation that your community went through after having to deal with such challenges?
So I think what's interesting about our community, and I definitely want to allow our city manager, our mayor to respond, but I think that the takeaway is that our community has always been resilient. It's in our DNA. We've always been a community that's like a family. And so as we absorb challenge after challenge, whether it be the migration crisis on the border or the domestic terror event that we suffered that impacted so much of El Paso, folks feel like, you know, it was those 23 families, but those 23 families represent the heart and soul of our community. So I would venture to say that the transformation was a realization of how close knit we are and how strong those partnerships are that take us forward. Mayor or city manager, would you like to add to that?
I think it's important when you talk about that we'll never forget, and the people that lost their lives because someone drove 11 hours just because who we were, we'll never forget, and we'll stay together. And I think that's the important part, that this will be something that our community has grown together, and that, like I think we said just now, it may have been 23 people, but it affected 800,000 El Pasoans. And you know what? We'll move back, we'll move forward, but we'll never forget, and we'll grow from this.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Please.
So first of all, Margaret, a big air hug to you, okay? First of all, a lot of healing needs to take place. And the other thing, it won't define you as a community. How you react is what people will look at. And what it gave us an opportunity to do is show our true character. During the same time that was happening, people were taking water to police officers, and when other communities were throwing water on police officers. So it really just gives you that opportunity to show your true character and how you really do come together and how you help one another. And so that opportunity was there for us, even though it was something that affected our entire region. But it was something that, as the mayor pointed out, we're never going to forget those individuals. And we've had different monuments that have been bestowed to them, but that part of it is going to wither, right, in time, and we don't want people to forget, as the mayor pointed out. But the main point I would tell you is that will not define you. What defines you is how you react to any adversity that you face.
And I want to add one more thing. As you see, you know, I got to speak, the city manager got to speak, but everybody here that you see behind us, they all took a big part in healing our community. We may never completely heal, but these people here behind us were such a big part in making sure we spoke with a united voice to heal our community. So I want to thank you all for being a big part of it, and that's how we were able to move forward.
Thank you. Let's get the next question from Mayor Shelton.
Thank you so much. First of all, I can certainly see why you're I think 4-time All-American City. You're truly doing amazing things, and the packet, you know, to take such an unspeakable tragedy and turn it into opportunity through resiliency is just phenomenal. So just want you to, I'm struggling for the right word of, you know, how to congratulate you even on that. I'm very impressed. One thing in the packet that I noticed, the 4 pillars, 12 goals, and 37 actions, civic infrastructure, and you talk about the Center for Civic Empowerment, and just wanted to kind of ask if you could explain a little bit more detail of kind of tell me what that is and expand on that a little bit.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I'm thrilled that you asked, because I want to let you know that we are standing in the city's very first Center for Civic Empowerment right now. You're looking at it. It was a 2-year effort engaging with community to try to understand what kind of space we needed to be able to have the conversations, the tough conversations that cities have to have with their communities in order to get to great solutions for our community. And so again, today we're standing in it. The center itself is more than just a space. It sits on the 17th floor of the historic Blue Flame building in our beautiful downtown El Paso. It is meant to be a beacon of hope, a beacon of education and empowerment. Engagement is not enough. This is something that it was written in our resilience strategy. It's not enough to simply engage with your community. Engagement could mean I had a town hall and I spoke at community. And so this is not about speaking at people. This is about empowering them with the tools that they need, the education they need. An example of that is the city's newest Civics series. The Civics series is a hosted set of educational sessions for everyone in the community to learn about how your government works, whether that be the municipal government, the state government, or the federal government. We can only make change as a people with as much as we understand how. And so it's our job at the Center for Civic Empowerment to help our community know how to build a resilient future.
Great. That's outstanding. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please.
And Mayor, since you're a mayor and I work with mayors a lot, I've done this for 30 years, just to kind of bring it home for you in terms of what that means. Those 20 plus organizations we mentioned that we're a partner with in the Communities of Excellence initiatives, they all have a home here. And when we have those collaborations with them, this is the place that we utilize where everybody comes, and it symbolizes all the things that Nicole already mentioned.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, and thank you, El Paso, for bringing us home with this year's AAC Award competition. So I am just so inspired by the work that you've done, the way that you empower your residents. You have just weathered your share of crises, and you have shown, how you're able to pivot and adapt and just have an amazing spirit as a community that's right on the border of 2 countries and 3 states. I'll always remember that about El Paso. So thank you so much, El Paso.
Angela, if I may, Angela, I'm sorry. I just want to say one thing. I want to thank the National Civic League. We have been a 4-time All-America City winner, and it's about more than the win for us. One of the big advantages for us in this effort is that it gives us an opportunity to take a second and breathe and remember the great things that we've done, because we get so wrapped up in the crisis that we forget. But in addition to that, the mayor talked about the domestic terror event that happened, and that happened largely because of how people perceive El Paso, who they think we are. And we're here at the All-America City event to tell the nation, to tell the world who we really are. And we are El Paso strong. And I just wanted to say that, and thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
I'm proud.
And thank you, El Paso.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, El Paso. You were last but certainly not least. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you will join us for tonight's closing ceremony along with all of our other finalists. Everyone who is watching on Facebook, YouTube, and the main stage, if you are registered for the event, please join us for today's Festival of Ideas, where you will get to converse with your fellow finalists, talk about ideas, share strengths, weaknesses, difficulties. So please tune in for that. The jury will be hard at their deliberations, and we will see you back here 5:30 for that award ceremony. And jury members, if you can stay on with me for just a moment.
Bye-bye.